गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट। गना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। टुडे वी गोइंग टू डिस्कस व्हाई इज चाइना pessimistic. Do we have an answer for it? And is it that much of a $1 million question that we can't answer? Many issues there. And I'm running contra to what is the popular opinion. Everyone says that China is the next superpower. China is going through hiccups. It will revive. Its economy will revive. People say that, look, everything is hunky dory. थोड़ा बहुत इधर उधर है, and China has grown $20 billion economy kind of a story. But the question I ask is, why is China pessimistic if it is all so powerful? And I'll try and answer this. And that will be quite an issue. But before that, I would like to show a clip which I did. It's actually an extract of a News9 interaction which I had very recently with Sandeep Punithan, who is one of the best defense editors going around in India. Have a look at it and then I'll talk.
In the studio, I have with me my colleague, TV9's foreign editor, R. Sridharan. We have Ambassador Prabhu Dayal joining us and Professor Sanjay Pandey as well. Gentlemen, welcome to the News 9 Plus show. General Shankar, I want to recall a conversation I had with you in June 2020 when you said that the PLA had not come prepared for war at that time. You had studied the way they had mobilized and they had deployed. The simple fact that I still remember you told me that their gun emplacements were not dug in. They hadn't built the kind of bunkers that would indicate a kind of preparedness for a conflict or a war. It was just calculated for muscle flexing. At that time, I didn't believe all of what you said then, but this seems to be the case. 4 years later, you've indicated the fact that this was actually meant to be aggressive bullying of the kind that they do with all their neighbors from time to time. But given the fact that over the last 4 years, both sides have built up so much military infrastructure. There's something like 100,000 soldiers that both India and China have deployed there. What are the things that you feel should now be done to ensure that these deployments don't lead to some kind of a border clash? Chinese.
Right. So, what I'm trying to put across to you is 2020 April, I used to have extensive talks with Sandeep Punithan. I never used to come on TV or, I had never had a channel, nothing. But I used to talk to him. I used to write about it. And when I explained to him that, look, nothing will happen. Don't worry. Thoda bahut ho jayega. Indian army will react well and all fine. No one believed me. I wrote, no one believed me. Then down the line, I, kept writing about China and, how it's going to go down and all. No one believed me. Even now, people don't believe me. That's part of the show. But I still have people like Sandeep Punithan who comes around and says, look, you told us so then. So what am I going to tell you? I told you so. 4 years later, you look at it. 4, 5, that's a matter of time. But what does it have to do with what we are going to do now? You have to understand that. When you study a nation, when you study a military, you study an economy, you study a people, uh, all that actually goes into what is a nation really. And you have to study all that. If you don't study that, you're out. And that is why this, study on why China is pessimistic is important. It is the small bricks which make the wall. And that is why I keep studying China through myriad angles. Many people would think that I'm off on a tangent, uh, dull. but that's part of the show, right? Uh, War might look very great, but at the end of the day, you want to be successful in war, you have to put in a lot of hard work and study. And I've had my success. Believe you me, in CI operations, I've had a lot of success. In actual operations, I've had a lot of success. That adventure is out of my head or my heart. I've been decorated for it. That's also fine. But what's not out is my study for my nation. And this is part of that. Okay, let's get going. Enough of my own. वो क्या बोलते हैं अपने आप ताली बजा रहे हैं. Right. So why is China pessimistic? You know, this article actually caught my eye. It said with pessimism in China and optimism in India, confidence seemed key to the economic puzzle. And South China Morning Post coming out with this kind of a headline that there is optimism in India and pessimism in China. I said, yeah, things must be really bad. So let us start focusing on the pessimism in China. And pessimism comes from what? Psychologically. Pessimism comes from bad things happening, good things not happening. Both. Psychology hai ki. So then I said, okay, let me do a little more. Hey, you see this fellow? He's put out a set of tweets. Very interesting. And this chap, his name is uh, Christoph Rahaj. He's a German. He's walked from China to Germany. It took him 2, 3 years. And he's developed friendships all over in the countryside. So I saw his tweet. Very interesting. And actually, that's what set me off. It's not always that you read something which is to do with their military and economy, which take you along a path. Okay. It's something else. So he said, look, he says in the next tweet, he says, a good friend from Germany, fluent in Chinese, just came back from China and told me the atmosphere is bleak. Lots of businesses have shut down, especially restaurants, bars, cafes have closed because people don't spend money anymore. It's interesting. This is the talk of Aam Janta. Young people worry that the good days are over. This is feeling from the ground. Okay. And then he showed this. He says the giant slogan on the wall says, listen to Chairman Z's command. Be responsible to Chairman Z. Let Chairman Z rest assured. China is definitely going back to the 1960s, the Cultural Revolution era. So it says a lot, you know. This is something ground up. Those of you who know how to read Chinese, read it. He said what I don't know, but this is what it is. So it gives you a pointer as to where China is psychologically and otherwise also. Okay, now let me go to something else. You know, we keep talking about USA and this and that and all. USA has been a big player in everyone's life. Even now, China wants to replace USA, but it is dependent on USA. I mean, very funny. If USA shuts the tap off, China will collapse. And most of us feel that China is rising and USA is declining, USA is a decadent power, this, that, all that. In this entire game of pessimism, optimism, who's number one, two, three, four, there are two factors which I thought I must focus on. One is USA, and because that's the main antagonist to China. And then the Chinese ideology, because China is an ideological nation. I know I'm going to take you on a tangent, but I'll get you back. It'll be interesting. Remember this. अलग सोचने की जरूरत है. So, okay, what is this story? You know, actually, if you look at it, USA needs an enemy to thrive. It's always, that's the history of USA. If there is no enemy, it exploits a country and it makes or creates an enemy. It creates out of that. That's the nature of USA ever since it was born. And then it destroys it, or that becomes an ally or a subsidiary. You look at history. This is China. This is US history. First, it destroyed the colonial powers. After all, if you go back into thing, there was a French colony in USA. There was a British colony. The Spanish also were there before the United States of America came into being. The Spanish came from the Mexican side. The French came from the south. Now, but the US system, as it evolved, destroyed all of them and took over the country. And in doing so, it destroyed the mother nations, including the British Empire. That's the nature of USA. And then it went through its own civil war. That was before all right. To come to consolidate itself. It was cathartic. End of Second World War, USSR was its enemy. That enemy was built and then destroyed. Come, after the Second World War, at the height of everything, the oil shock came. The Gulf countries started growing big. The USA pumped up the Gulf countries and destroyed them and made completely all the Gulf countries its subsidiaries and controlled the oil market of the world. Then it started this business of war on terror and it destroyed complete West Asia to the north. Libya, Syria, all those countries, Iraq, all those, except Iran, everything, including Pakistan. One of the prime reasons why Pakistan was destroyed, जो हाल है अभी, is USA. I've forgotten to put Japan in this. Japan, Taiwan, Korea, all these are part of that game only. And the latest, China. So the thing is, China knows this. The Chinese are not fools. China knows this. And they see it happening. That is why they're pessimistic about themselves. I've got you back on track? Okay. Please understand this. There's a huge, river of pessimism in China because they see USA going away and USA shutting all taps slowly. And China doesn't have the tools. Some people talk China has become big, all that. But the sharks are circling. And that's the feeling which Chinese have. It's not what I'm saying. It's what Chinese feel. Okay. That's the important thing. And then there's a business of ideology, which, drives China. And for the past 3 days, I've been reading about a book. I've not got my hands on it. I've been reading about a book called On Xi Jinping, written by Kevin Rudd. Kevin Rudd was Prime Minister of Australia, and he's now their ambassador to USA. He'd written a book about 2 years back. Now he's written a book again on Xi Jinping. And I've been listening to his talks. As I kept listening to his talks, this thing came. You go back in time, in Mao's time, Mao took China hard left, economically, politically, and diplomatically. He was a huge risk taker. And he did what he wanted. No one could question him. Okay. Deng. Deng did everything opposite of Mao, but he took China complete to the right. Politically, he kept it a little to the left. Continued because Tiananmen Square, he was the one who cracked the whip. He said the Communist Party can't go. He kept the country to the left, but on other cases, he said, let go. Diplomatically, he opened up. Economically, he opened up. Commercially, he opened up. Militarily, he kept it hidden. We know that. But Deng's shift to the right threatened the CCP rule completely. Okay. And hence, Xi Jinping, when he came, he took the CCP ideology with great expectations to the left. That was this mode of survival. So, what do you see in Xi Jinping? Politically, he is Maoist left, completely to the left. Maoist. No more little left of the center like Deng. Internal economics is complete to the left. Externally, he is mercantilist in nature. Statism with reduced privatism, or in fact, crushed. But he's got great expectations. He still wants to rule the world economically. BRI, debt trapping, all that. It doesn't gel, imbalance. Next thing you have to understand when you say why China is pessimistic, remember the question is why is China pessimistic? This is the build up for that. All signature campaigns of Xi Jinping have been failed. One by one, it is a failure. Whether you take common prosperity, no one talks of common prosperity. 2 years back, they couldn't stop talking of common prosperity. Dual circulation, कोई बात ही नहीं करता. Western development model, they wanted to develop the West, the desert and Xinjiang and Tibet and all that. No one talks of it. New production force. Last year he started new production force, EV, solar. That's also failing today. Then you have to understand 2 years back, Xi Jinping destroyed the financial tech sector, the educational tech sector completely. It was at that point of time, I couldn't understand. It was a $2 trillion hole he made in China's economy. He also destroyed China's vitality along with that. Finished. Jack Ma and all those, Tencent, Pinduoduo, they're all there, but in very diluted form. The property sector would have collapsed one way or the other. He couldn't have stopped it because it had got so over leveraged. Now, the net of all what I have spoken so far means what? It means loss of jobs and the ability to earn. It has resulted in the current wave of pessimism, which is in China. It means loss of hope. Everyone talks of reform. Xi Jinping's idea of reform is to go take country more to the left, Maoist, Leninist principles. Whereas we want them to go to a market economy. It can't happen. Please understand, stimulus, no stimulus, all that nonsense, it just can't happen because ideologically, Mr. Xi Jinping will not move to the right. And this is what I learned for the past 2 days on reading, or not reading the book, about listening about that book. I went to all channels to listen. Walk karte waqt, Kevin Rudd talking, he being questioned by 20 different people on Xi Jinping. This is what I understood. What is China's net status? We all know that. Property crisis, developers have collapsed, huge debts. There's a trail of failed investments. Okay. Unsold apartments and lost jobs. We know that. I'm not going to go over it again. Chinese consumers have become frugal. Businesses have cut salaries and scaled back hiring. College graduates joining the job market are unemployed. We know all this, but we'll touch base to see the final thing. Why? China's population has shrunk 2 years in a row. This is the start point. Okay. Where this generation has only seen the economy growing and they have got used to the idea of their life being improved. Suddenly, it doesn't happening and confidence is eroding. Foreign firms once rushed to China to set up shops. They're now quitting. They're retrenching. They're cutting jobs. They're cutting the research and center development centers. I know because there are three centers which were set up in Chennai by Siemens and Philips and one more. I'm forgetting. One by Tata's also. Because they didn't want to go to Chennai, to China. In fact, I was in the advisory committee to set up here. They're functioning well here, incidentally. All the local governments borrowed money for splashy projects. Why? Those projects kept the construction sector and people going for jobs. But now that's over. Real estate prices down. Chinese stocks are underperforming. Despite all this stimulus and stock going up and all, the value of most stocks, what you bought 5 years back to now, are less. No other place in the world that has happened except in China. So why will the Chinese not be pessimistic? Their GDP growth is going down. They say that this year they will not touch that magic figure of 5%. Even this 4.7, 4.8% which they're talking of is pumped up. Not correct. This is it. This is IMF. IMF itself has lowered their growth. Okay. Even IMF talks of forecast on property and consumer confidence. Confidence nahi hai bhai. I mean, it's very interesting that, these words like pessimism, confidence, and all that are now coming in headlines, which I could never think of. Urban employment. This is our urban employment, not youth unemployment. That's also going up. It keeps going up and down. So they do something, it will go down, then slowly it will go up again. That's what's happening. They're not able to control it. Top private firms are cutting their jobs. Okay, youth unemployment rate. This is a very interesting thing. If you see, their employment was, youth unemployment was at about 20. Yeah, yeah, here, around 21%. That's when they stopped publishing figures. And after 4, 5 months, they showed it here, and it had fallen, come down to 14% or so, whatever. Okay, and then they did some huguri puguri. It went down. Now it shot up again. So actually, it has shot up this much. If you really add this to here, this would be somewhere here. And where are you? Completely. It must be about 30% by now. Youth unemployment. Okay. So they're reporting. This is the latest reports. This is all last 1 month. Bloomberg, it has reported that, uh, you know, the, what is this? Pay cuts are there. Average monthly salaries offered by companies to new recruits in 38 key cities fell by 0.6% in the third quarter from a year, following increases of 2.2 and 0.5% in the first, second quarters. So first, second quarter, something happened. It goes with the unemployment rate. Now it's fallen back. They want elderly people who are retired to join the workforce because they don't have And this gives me an indication that their population has already collapsed long back. I'll talk of population separately. I told you, population and climate change. I'll talk separately. Now, this is another funny thing. They 60% of Chinese over 60 are empty nesters. So anyone who's over 60, 60% of them are living single without any help, and the state is pretty bad. This, if I won't be, I mean, all of us will be pessimistic if something like this happens in India. The retail sales is going down. I'm showing all figures. Incidentally, all these graphs are not mine. They are beautifully made by the National Bureau of Statistics of China. It's not mine. I don't know how to make these graphs. I download them from officially you can download it. See the property investment. It's in bloody negative. In between it went up and then it's gone down. What's the problem? Everyone talks of this problem. China invests too much investment into roads, this, that, all that, and Chinese people spend too less. It's a phenomenon of a rich state and a poor people. I keep talking of this. Household consumption in USA, it is 70% of GDP. India and Britain are nearly 60%. You and I. That's why our economy keeps growing because we don't have a choice but to consume. The day we can consolidate our manufacturing and few things, your GDP will go 14 to 15%. I have no doubt it's our incompetence which is making us grow at 7%. Worst kind of incompetence, and we are still growing at 7% because we consume. And this consumption economy of India has been our mainstay for the past 2 decades. European Union people consume 50%. In China, they consume only 38%. And this has remained unchanged for the past 12 years. And it will not go up. That's their saying, not me. Will stimulus package help China's local government pay bills? This is very interesting, this article. The local governments have a huge bill to pay, debt. Will all the stimulus help them? They say no. Watch what they say. There's a professor at Tsinghua University. He says local government owned companies and employees an amount equivalent to 10% of the GDP. That's a hell of a figure here. $2 trillion. If it's say 20 trillion or 18 trillion is their GDP. So local companies local governments owe companies and employees an equivalent of 10% of GDP. है ना? और मैं नहीं बोल रहा हूँ वो ली डाउकुई जो भी है he is from Tsinghua University. And what's some guy who has to get money from this local government says most local governments have changed their leadership because uh, badli hota rehta hai. Some got chap sacked, some chap got purged, some chap died, some chap ran away. So that new guy comes, he says, नहीं नहीं यार वो कर्ज उसने लिया मैंने नहीं लिया. I'm not going to give you money. That's what he says. And this is very funny. Most local governments have changed their leadership and they have little incentive to actually repay their predecessors, areas to businesses, especially to SMEs. So if the small chaps are not being paid and people are not being paid for up to 1.5, 2 years, so how will they be optimistic? Sir, पूरे तो रो रहे होंगे, अपने बाल नोच रहे होंगे. And this is a very nice thing. This is Xi Jinping going to someone. He goes, I mean, this is in Chinese. I don't know whether the English translation is. Yeah, it's there. He went through Anhui, okay, on a trip. Everyone was told to come and wave at him, and he waved and continued. He says, as per this thing which comes, he says this fellow is behaving like Kim Jong Un of Korea. That's the feeling some fellow has, and he puts it. So I think चाइना में सब खुश हैं तो ये है एक्चुअली Okay. Then another guy, Zhang Hugyu, a research fellow at the IMF, Institute of Renmin University in China. Okay. Now, what he says is very interesting. That as per this, uh, for using different parameters, they say, uh, you know, consumption was only 49% of GDP, and it has gone low. And in this article, he's come out with a lot of figures. And Michael Pettis has written a beautiful article in Carnegie Endowment, and he's given a table out in that. He says if the consumption goes from the current, say, 50% as per this calculation, it goes to 80% or 70 to 80%, and the GDP rate grows at a particular figure, 6% or 6% or 7%, then it'll take 12 years for China to recover. That table I couldn't understand. That's why I didn't show it to you. But if that is the case, oh, and all the best to China. Okay. And then, as per Xinhua, in the same tweet, he says, China will launch a month-long campaign to promote consumption in November. Abhi aane wala hai. As part of its efforts to bolster consumer spending. It will feature a series of activities promoting consumption in shopping, catering, tourism, exhibitions, performance, amongst others. कि भाई यहाँ तक नौबत आ गया कि गवर्नमेंट ऐसे कि भाई जाके खरीदो यार, कोई खरीद नहीं रहा. Why? As I read somewhere, one guy said, "Yeah, people want me to buy everything, but where do I have the money? I mean, the government thinks I've kept money, but I don't have. Whatever money I have is notional because it's in debt with someone else. वो पूरा circular debt चल रहा है उधर. Okay. Anyway, the last point is important. For a large economy, there's an extremely high dependence on net exports for growth even now. It's not gone away. And it with low consumption, high exports, it's an unbalanced economy. And this is not what I say, it is what every Chinese says. And they agree on it and they can't do anything about it. So if they cannot do, they will be pessimistic. Isn't it so? Why is pessimism in China? Because of this. Now, every year, twice in a year, there's a place called Canton in which there's a fair. It's called the Canton Fair, which is a world famous, internationally known big fair where people from all over the world come. For the past 2 to 3 years, the trends are identical as here. Now I'll show you what the trends are. The trends. Now they say the Canton Fair is the barometer of China's foreign trade. You have to understand when you say manufacturing sector of China, it is not solar panels, it is not those cars, it is not all those things. It is those zips, small bags, small things, which you go to USA in every supermarket, you'll find those. But that has also going down. And this Canton Fair, which is supposed to be barometer of China's foreign trade, Europeans and North Americans are less represented among the bustle of buyers at the twice yearly event. There are shrinking number of buyers from Russia and affluent regions of the Middle East. So West में नहीं से नहीं आ रहे, Russia से नहीं आ रहे, Middle East से नहीं आ रहे. And there are fewer buyers in the April season. In the last 6 months before that also they said the same thing. It's a continual thing which is happening. And very simply put, Europeans and American buyers mean higher profit for them, which they're not getting. कौन आता है? West Africans, Latin Americans, some South Asians, not South Asians, East Asians and all come. They come, they're not interested in paying. So they get value added cheap stuff and go back. They want cheap stuff. So this is where China is stuck. Pessimism is just seeping out of I mean, 1 year back also, it wasn't so bad. every day today, every day these days, 1 to 2 articles I always find in South China Morning Post. So right on this, others won't talk. Yeah, yeah, Caxon and Yikai talk, but Xinhua, Global, क्या है वो People's Daily and all, they don't talk. International airlines are cutting flights to China. Okay, because there's a ban on Russian airspace, people say get lost. I'm not interested in coming. Earlier, British Airways used to have some weekly flight to some place. Now it's once in 2 weeks, or not weekly, a daily flight to some place in China. Now it is once in a week or something like that. Slowly they're cutting down. It's a hard reality. Okay, and then if you think people are making money in the stock market, no, that's also not there. Now, there's a very interesting thing which I saw, and I'll show you in full scale. This is a study carried out by Stanford, and this study was put out very recently. Okay, September 2024. Oh, red. It's in red. Have a look at it. And they carried out a survey. I think Stanford has a center in China, and through that they did all this. Okay, what's the heading of that study? Getting ahead in today's China, from optimism to pessimism. Very interesting, this article, this study. However, if you can get your hands on it, read it. He says this is it. Again, let me read this because if I read it, you'll understand what the story is. Against the backdrop of China's post 1978 economic transformation, recent challenges such as COVID-19 have prompted speculation about rising popular pessimism regarding current inequalities and opportunities to get ahead. This study compares findings from three new nationally representative surveys conducted in 23 last year, with three earlier surveys conducted from 2004, 2009, and 2014. So this is over a period of time. Results reveal a significant attitudinal shift, with 2023 respondents expressing markedly more critical views about the fairness of current inequality patterns. Respondents in the 2023 surveys increasingly attribute poverty versus wealth to structural factors like unequal opportunities rather than to variations in individual merit. So, opportunities in China are going away. That's the general feeling. Respondents also reported lower expectations for future income growth compared with the earlier surveys. So, they are not hopeful of getting incomes, people. While not indicating imminent threats to political stability, such trends suggest that China's leaders will likely face increasing skepticism and even critical popular responses as they try to mobilize their citizens to confront the serious challenges that China faces in coming years. This is their assessment. So he says is inequality, the expectation of income is not there, but people are not happy, but there'll not be serious political stability, but who knows? Okay, have a look at this. This table shows in the heading attribution of why people in China are poor. Why people are poor? Rank the order. In 2004, people were poor, if you see, yeah, this year. In 2004, people were poor because of lack of ability, lack of effort, or lack of education. It remained so continuously for almost, yeah, till here. Okay, till 2014. Today, that's not the case. Today, unequal opportunity. Okay. Okay. Let me adjust my screen. Okay. Today, unequal opportunity is the biggest factor. Then low education. And third is unfair economic system. Okay. Or you grew up in a poverty family. So the why you are poor has changed completely. Now, why people are rich? Again, if you see in 2004, it is because of human capital, which ability, higher education, connections. These are the three top factors. I'm taking one, two, three rank. The rest you can see slowly. Today, what is it? Connections is first. Okay. If you are grew up in a rich family, you are rich. Two. Okay. Better opportunities you get in the economic system is third. But ability and talent, hard work, education and all are gone down. See how things have changed in China. Okay. This is comparison with the past and future expectations. Okay. Now, this one panel says some of much better and somewhat better. Okay. What did they say? Will your future be better, bad, or worse? They took five. Worse, somewhat worse, neutral, somewhat better, and much better. Compared to 5 years back or 2014, if you see the number of people who felt it was better or somewhat better was much higher. In 2009 and 2014, it went up to 72, 70%, 80%. And today it's just 30%. Only 30% feel that the future is better. As against that, if you see people who felt that the future will be bad was just 16, 5%, 4%, and all, that kind in up to 2014. An average is this. Today, that number has gone up. See why pessimism won't come. This is all quantified. Okay. There's again same story in this also. Comparison with the past and future expectations. Some of much better and all that. Okay. Right. Okay. Now people have said, okay, there's another interesting thing. Let me show you fully, and I don't know whether you'll be able to see it also. Okay. And right. If you see in this, he says, to what extent do you agree by family income level? Right. In the first thing in human capital, this one, right. In our country, effort is always rewarded. That's the first one, right? Depending on the income brackets, okay, right, you will find it's going down. Today, that thing for effort is always rewarded. Once at a point of time, till about 2014, it used to be 63% felt if effort was always rewarded. Today, it's only 22% who feel so. So, if you go into this also, which I'm not hereafter going because it's too small, you see the survey in detail, you see that quantified story is bad. You take any parameter in China, it's going down. Now we'll say, yaar, sab kuch niche hi ja raha tha, where will it stop? We don't know. Is there a method for China to pull out of this whole story? It might be. What they're doing with us in India might well be it. I mean, I have a feeling that what now they've gone back is all connected with their fundamental economics, fundamental thing, all that. But I will talk of that a little later. So overall, if you see, there's a lot of pessimism in China and they have no way out of it. So what if? Do we feel happy about it? Can't. The whole idea is to predict the future, what will happen. I'm not interested in what happens in China. I'm interested in what happens to us. Like yesterday, I spoke about Tibet. If China's economy goes down, if climate change takes place and their population declines, Tibet has a chance and we have a chance. And I'll talk of it. I'll talk of this during climate change where we are going. Because in the past 2 days, I got some interesting information about what will happen in Tibet as days go by. And also in the mainland. But that's a different story. So this is what the story in China is. Why is there pessimism in China? There's a lot of reasons I've given you. Okay. Now, with this, I've finished for what I had to do today. But what am I going to do ahead? Because I think for the next quite some time, as we start dealing with them, as thinning out or disengagement starts on the LAC, as things move forward, uh, we need to understand China more, and I'll get it to you so that it is through that prism we start seeing, judging whether what's happening on the LAC is right or wrong. You can make a judgment and what will happen next. It is a madcap kind of things which I did, which helped me 2020 to say this is what will happen to China in on the LAC. And you heard what Sandeep Unathan told. The same kind of a thing which I keep going all around the countryside and boring you guys. That I come to some conclusions what China can do and can't do. And China can't do many things at this point of time. Okay. So now the thing is, on Sunday, we're going to have a good panel on the India China breakthrough, and we'll talk various issues. Okay. We're getting Kondapalli and Rakesh Sharma and all, and we'll talk. And Ambassador Trigunath. That's one. Following that, Monday, I'm going to talk about because now Chinese reactions are coming on this entire story. So I'll give you the Chinese reactions and their analysis and what their story is uh, from their point of view. I'll get. I'm trying to read Chinese these days through Google. So Monday we'll talk of that. And based on their earlier writings, what they're now talking, so that will give you one trajectory. On Sunday, we'll get one trajectory with experts. Then on Tuesday, I'm going to talk about the great game reset, which is happening. I'll speak about this with Brigadier Arun Sehgal because I think he's one of the most strategically aware persons. And on Wednesday, I'll talk to General Vinod Bhatia about the LAC and all that. And we feel that there is a great Himalayan blunder of China in this whole deal. We'll talk of it. So we'll attack China psychology. I wouldn't say from intellectual point of view from 5-6 directions, and then we'll get an idea as to what is happening, and you'll also be able to then judge where things are going. Okay. Uh, I'm not bothered how many people come to see or not, but I'm going to do what is necessary for our country. Okay. With this, let me take some questions and then we'll see where it goes. Okay, Amal, I'm convinced about the decline of China in coming years, as you say. But what after that? Will it mean return to US unipolarity? What will it mean for India? It will not be unipolar. That season is gone. China will decline and flatten out at some point of time. Its power will reduce, but India's power will increase. That's on the cards. But how do we manage this power and how things have to be handled? Because Russia is still there, it's not gone. We'll talk on Tuesday with Brigadier Arun Sehgal. Just wait till then. How much Chinese military industrial complex is matured as compared to USA, Russia? Is it ready for wartime quality and quantity of weapons? And look, they have an extensive military industrial complex which they have, brought about. So they're good. It's not as if they're bad fully. But there's a lot of mismatches between what they're making and what they can use, and what they can use is also dependent on the human factor, which I think there's a huge mismatch. Plus, it's nice to have a shiny new toy. What happens after some time? The toy becomes old. You have to do something else. So those are the issues with it. Uh, okay, I have Kulbhushan Seth, who's become a YouTube member. New welcome, Kulbhushan. Thanks for joining us. And then is there someone else? Yeah, I just say Kulbhushan. So thanks a lot for joining Gunner Shot. Honored. I'm honored. Okay. So this Bhaskar we'll have to keep judging it. It's not a what if USA were to mend fences with China? It won't, it can't. No, that season is gone. Okay. So that season is gone. USA will not mend China. I told you history of USA. USA will accept China as a subsidiary. No, it will twist China's tail and they say, I'll democratize you and then destroy you. It'll happen. What is your analysis of German Chancellor's visit to India? Do you think after Soviet ties and joint ventures in China, their companies can partner with Indian industries and businesses? This is going to be very tough. The Germans are up the gum tree. Let's be very clear. They, you know, Germans had a choice of coming to either India or going to China. They went to China. Why? There's a societal connect in this. The Germans are still a regimented society. So is China. So they went there. They trusted the Chinese. And the Chinese have made a good fool out of them. Now they're worried because the Chinese are stealing their technology blind. Suddenly the Germans want to come to India. Okay. Because they have no choice. They can't go anywhere else. But I think now the needle has moved. Germans, when they went to China, they went at their terms and China accepted it. Slowly, they turned the table against Germans. The Germans are insisting that they'll come here at their terms. Now, having learned the lesson, their terms are so rigid that it will not be acceptable to us. Let's see how it goes. I don't have much hope in a hurry. Do you think it's a failure of Chinese diplomacy to move Japan, South Korea, and Philippines away from American sphere of influence? We'll talk about it on Tuesday with Brigadier Arun Sehgal. But it is, I think Xi Jinping made a huge mistake. In 2020, the world was eating out of China's hands, including India. We had tremendous, our trade was increasing. By Xi Jinping and कौन अपना Prime Minister Modi in Mahabalipuram. I was here 2019 November or so. He came. I still remember. Um, वो बीच में घूमते थे डोसा खाते थे उधर all that nonsense. It was happening here only. No, it was not happening in England. All fine. 2020, the whole thing turned. Why? At that point of time, our politicians were pretty funked completely about China. No more. कम से कम वो whatever China did, they उनका असलियत बाहर निकला है. Same thing happened with Japan. Same thing happened with Korea. China was not a threat to Korea or Japan in 2020, the way it is today. Not bad diplomacy, it was bad politics. Yeah. You stated that USA needs an enemy to survive. Does the recent SFI related incident have a potential to place us in that bracket in tandem with the look, for the thing with the advantage we have with USA is that one, we've always been USA's enemy. We know how to deal with USA at some level. Remember, USA was our enemy till 2001. They didn't like us. They were against us. They supported Pakistan, everything. So we have that experience. The second thing is USA needs us, not us needing them as much. We've survived without USA so long, we'll survive again more. So they have to come to us. Oh, Rahi baat, will they destroy us like China? They can't. That's what they have learned. Okay. And as our political, NRIs, political hold increases in USA, USA will have lesser leeway to behave like what they've done with China. One. Number two, India will not behave like China. It's not in India's nature to behave like China. So you're comparing apples and oranges here. I think this crackdown in fintech and edtech was a misstep by China. We should have it, but with a community sense in it. Yeah, I agree with you. It is a great stupidity. Uh, the problem with in our country, as far as in tech and fintech is concerned, is it's too unregulated. You need to regulate it. That's about all. Otherwise, we are okay. He may desire improving on the palm and five fingers. All this is gone. I think people can talk of it. It's all fiction now. It's all fiction. Forget it. No palms, no tops. ये सब गया काम से. UN's projection, okay, this I will leave it. Economic parameters are all figures, promises backed by state, but the assets created by China are real and are waiting to be consumed. Yeah, can you consume a road? Can you consume a railway track? Oh, that too when your population is going down. How do you do it? The question which a road is good only if it gives you return of income. Some of the roads and everything have not got anything back for them. And they are only paying off debts, which I told you. Uh, Fundamentally, your argument is correct. But if your argument is to build roads, beyond a point, it's waste. Ask General Shukla, he's realistic. Now you go to him, yeah. Why you watch coming here? Ask him. Yeah, that's a good question. Hey, we know you are a Chinese, Olala ji. We understand who you are. So you go to sit under Shukla's chair and tell him what you're doing. This is a good question. China has a lot of problems like India, but even pragmatic view, India will reach near China and somewhere in 2020-60. So I don't believe in collapse of CCP theory. So I have no problem. Who's asking you to agree with me? I'm not interested also in your agreement. Whether you agree with me or disagree with me, we are democratic. Yeah, carry on. I have no issue. As much I know my analysis, I must tell you my analysis. You'd like it, take it. Don't like it, don't. But but whatever I have analyzed has come true so far. So there's no argument. No, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's up to you to believe it or not. China is a manufacturing marvel and a marketing failure. Cannot can this not be corrected by right strategies? Yes. The right strategy is downsize yourself, go sit under America's bum. The American wants to sit on the Chinese head. The day that happens, China will be okay. But Xi Jinping doesn't want. He wants to displace America. That is why I said the See, all of us are talk of Chinese history, this history, that history, and what's to happen in China. Read the American history. Yeah? It will tells you a lot of things which can happen or not happen to China depending on how things move. Do you see the mood in China? I mean, the mood in USA to be for China? Yeah, will it not be a pity if all that is manufactured by Chinese people go to waste? Yeah, just too bad. That's market economy. That's democracy. That's the right for me to choose what I want to do. Who's asking them to produce, any case? Let me ask you the flip question. Who's asking them to produce? Keep it with them. Keep your production with them. Businesses are business. Maulana Barnaluddin. Sir, as an Indian, I feel proud and grateful to have the chance to interact with the journal. Thank you for doing. Oh, yeah, welcome. Okay. With China's demographic decline, do you think they'll experience a loss of knowledge and expertise like the Russians, as per your experience with their jet engine technology? Yeah, it'll happen. It's bound to happen. It's just bound to happen, whether you like it or not. It's bound to happen. They're going to lose a lot of things. People talk robots and automation and all that. Yeah, robots don't eat. They don't make love. They don't produce babies, and they're costly. One robot goes, how will you replace it? This is all fancy thinking. How can we prevent the West from squeezing us economically like they're doing to China as a more localized economy there? Look, you need to just grow slowly. If you grow slowly, you'll be okay. You can't break. The problem with China is it grew too fast. In its growth, so fast, imbalanced growth, okay, against the nature of the people, they are suffering. You have to grow with the nature of the people. Look, it's something like this. How do you expect a chap from Heartland, India, from Bihar or UP, overnight to become a computer wizard when there's no education and no jobs, no nothing? Where will you get the next, Microsoft from in UP? You'll not, na? Kanpur, Shanpur belt mein Oraon, those Rajput belts. I mean, incidentally, I've been there, all those places. Where will you get? You can't make, any Microsoft there. But the chance of making a Microsoft in India, in Chennai are higher or equivalent. Okay. So it'll have to be slow, very slow. Incrementally will grow. That incremental growth gives a good base. And that's the base on which India has to stand. We might find a lot of problems with our growth. We might find scams, we might find all kinds of nonsense, but we'll continue to grow the Indian way, which is more solid, slow and steady wins the race. We'll grow, don't worry. If China goes under, what happens to billions of Chinese people? Fair question. But my own belief is China will not go under completely. That will not happen. 1 billion people will not run away. Where will they go? They have to be existing on Mother Earth, and that 1 billion will produce something, and then the GDP will not go. What will happen is chaos. And look, again, history. Uh, you have to go to history of China to understand what will happen to China. China has always had this problem of changing uh, monarchies, changing kingdoms. Kings went and came every 200-300 years, 100. Some dynasties were only for 50 years. So anything up to about 300. Some dynasties they say were up to 600 years, but I don't believe it. So this dynasty, this communist dynasty, will go. If not now, 5 years, 10 years, it will go. China has reached that point where this Chinese thing will move. Something else will come. We'll see what happens. Because the contradictions of communism, see, I'm not talking out of my own feelings and heart, and I wish communism. No, no. I'm talking from a study of communism, Chinese communism. I'm talking from a study of uh, Soviet communism. I'm talking from a study of Japanification. You put all these three things together, I think the days are numbered for Chinese Communist Party if they don't change course. Even if they change course, they'll go. If they change course and democratize and go to the right, then the people will push them out and a new party will come. If they go this way, they'll impoverish the poor, they'll impoverish the masses, and they'll have to break it. It'll, it'll be a repressive regime. And with the problems which are going to come up, you have to wait till the climate change issue comes up. After that, you talk to me. Climate change, I'll explain to you what's happening in China. And then you talk to me about during the population decline. Put these two together and what's happening politically, you will get the answer. What will be strategic financial and military applications of getting into bed with China once again? It's disaster. That will be the thing. Right? I mean, it's obvious that's going to happen. It's not obvious, Ritik. Let me tell you very categorically, and that's what we're going to discuss on Tuesday and Wednesday. It's not going to happen. And Monday, I'll tell you why it will not happen. Just wait. Yeah, yeah. I think edtech and finance, fintech are disruptive fields, regulations. Yeah, I agree with you. There are everywhere, whatever you do for progress has a risk in it. The USA controls whole world but saves small country Israel. Well, that's okay. That's their outlook. You, yeah, I agree. The day from the disengagement terror attack in JNK, yeah, will not get towards this. Sir, the CPP reports in Chinese is different from what Global Times in English. That's okay. That doesn't matter. But the fundamentals of what's happening in China are well known. So this is, I mean, there's no doubt about it. You can question me what will happen ahead. That's a thing. But you can't question me on, sir, this is wrong. Because these are Chinese sources I'm using. The Chinese language, they'll give a good thing because maximum people read. They can't keep telling their own people something's wrong. Is he worried about his position? Yes, he is. He is. Like, don't have doubts. USA is a China, Russia without democracy, but USA will not decline Arunachal. Please understand this. It will not decline. You have to understand USA to see it will not decline. It's that system they built which will allow it not to decline. Is this conflict-ridden times? Is military exports a major growth area for industrial economy? What are the any sector you can export, you will grow because your exports are very small, and there are people waiting कि भाई भारत export करे हम ले लेंगे. There no nothing which is you want to be competitive to what the Chinese are selling. You want to actually destroy China. Go competitive in exports. You'll grow. I mean, look at it this way. I'll give you an example. We buy Russian oil. China also buys Russian oil, but we export finished products. We buy a lot of oil, refine it, and sell it to the rest of the world. And the rest of the world will buys it from us. They don't buy it from China. So it's good. Similarly, any thing you take, if you can export, even you reconvert and export, you're okay. It's not only military. Military has got a lot of scope today, but so as any field, if you can export and compete with China, you're there. Or petroleum already we have proven refined petroleum. Okay. So yeah, fine. So we've finished with today's talk. I hope you people have enjoyed it. If you have, great. Just press the thumbs up button and ask more people to join in. Uh, Now, last before I quit, what I want to tell you is the Chanakya Defense Dialogues ran yesterday and today, and there were 8 sessions overall. I was given the choice of beaming it live, but then I thought 8 sessions with their delays and all that. The whole day you would have been in front of a TV and got bored listening to those 9, and a lot of gaps in between and all that. So what I've done is I've got all the videos of the sessions, right? So I've already put out one. That is the Raksha Mantri's address and the chief's opening remarks, chief of army staff. So from tomorrow morning onwards, 6 o'clock in the morning, one video I'll put it out, one session, and evening 6, one more. And I'll do it. It goes to another 3 days. What I would suggest is all of you see these. Some of them are international people, some are from India, but they're the best. It will be highly intellectual discussions which you'll hear. I've left the Q&A sessions also in that. That's why you'll find each video for about an hour. That's 1 hour, a little plus minus, because of the Q&A sessions. If you take the Q&A sessions, each session finishes in about 45 minutes. So I would suggest have a look at it. I'm also going to see it along with you. I've not also seen it. Every day in the morning at 6 in the evening, I'm going to upload it and see it. Otherwise, I'm not getting the time. Till then, the one with the chief and the Raksha Mantri, that is already live. Have a look at it after this. Okay. Um, Look, last thing. I have decided that I'll give you the best quality I can. Um, you're my country, you're my nation, you're my people. I'm not going to get somebody Bawarchi and some cook or something like that, who's converted to being a strategist to talk to you people. So, there are a lot of on YouTube. If you see some of their, previous CVs, some might have been even a motor mechanic. He reads something and he comes. I'm not that kind. We'll get the best, right? And keep coming back. We'll see you tomorrow evening. I'm going to do 1947-48 J&K battle. I put a small video out, but tomorrow I'm going to go back into military history because that is important for all of us to understand. And I'm doing it with the purpose to educate some of my officers about what happened in J&K in 1948. Understand, it's good for all of you also. Come and join it. Till tomorrow evening. Bye. Good evening and Jai Hind.